May 1st, 1994, Imola, Italy. The racing world held its breath as the greatest driver of all time pushed his Williams Renault to its absolute limit. What happened next would forever change Formula One. But Ayrton Senna's spirit, his legacy, that would prove to be eternal. This is the story of the man who didn't just race cars, he transcended them. What makes a legend? Is it raw talent, unbreakable determination, or something deeper? Something that touches the very soul of sport itself. Ayrton Senna da Silva possessed all of these qualities. But more than that, he embodied a purity of purpose that Formula One had never seen before, and may never see again.
One of the best who has ever done it in F1.
Like the nice guy could also be the killer.
It's the biggest in history.
Born in Sao Paulo, Brazil on March 21, 1960, Senna would go on to win 3 world championships, claim 41 Grand Prix victories, and secure 65 pole positions. But numbers alone cannot capture the magic of Ayrton Senna. To understand his eternal spirit, we must dive into the mind of a man who saw racing not as a job, but as a calling from God himself. Senna's journey began with go-karts at age 4. A gift from his father that would change motorsport history forever. Even as a child, there was something different about the way young Ayrton approached racing. While other kids saw fun, he saw purpose. While they saw the game, he saw destiny. By 13, he was already dominating karting championships in Brazil. His family was wealthy, his father owned factories and land, but money couldn't buy what Senna possessed. An almost supernatural connection to the machine beneath him. In 1981, he made the bold decision to leave Brazil for Europe, adopting his mother's maiden name, Senna, for racing. The transition wasn't easy. He was homesick, struggled with English, and he faced the challenge of proving himself in a foreign land. But his driving spoke a universal language. Formula Ford, Formula 3, and then the call every driver dreams of, Formula One. In 1984, Senna signed with Toleman, a small, underfunded team. Most drivers would have seen this as a stepping stone. Senna saw it as his stage. Monaco, 1984, the race that announced Senna to the world. In torrential rain that had most drivers crawling around the track, Senna was flying. Lap after lap, he carved through the field from 13th position, hunting down the leader, Alain Prost. The gap closed. 40 seconds. 30 seconds, 20 seconds. With each lap, spectators witnessed something extraordinary. This wasn't just skill, this was artistry. Senna wasn't just driving through the rain, he was dancing with it. When the race was controversially stopped due to conditions, Senna had closed to within inches of victory. He finished second, but everyone knew that they had witnessed the birth of a legend. The rain had become his ally. And from that day forward, whenever dark clouds gathered over a racetrack, competitors knew that they were racing for second place. This mythical relationship with wet conditions wasn't luck, it was philosophy. While others feared the unpredictability of rain, Senna embraced it. "I have always been attracted to the limit," he once said. In the rain, the limit is even more difficult to find, and when you find it, the satisfaction is even greater. In 1985, Senna joined Lotus, and the partnership was electric. His first victory came at a rain-soaked Portuguese Grand Prix, where he won by over a minute, a margin that seems impossible in modern Formula One. But this was just the beginning. Senna's driving style was evolving into something unique. He didn't just corner faster than his rivals, he seemed to bend the laws of physics. His qualifying laps were particularly mesmerizing. Single laps where he found speed that existed nowhere in the data, nowhere in the car's capabilities, nowhere except in the space between his heart and his hands. "Sometimes I reach a state where I don't understand what's happening with the car," Senna admitted years later. "I'm just driving by instinct, in dimensions that are beyond my normal understanding." This transcendental approach to racing set him apart from every other driver on the grid. By 1987, he had won 6 races with Lotus. But Senna had bigger dreams. He wanted championships. And for that, he needed the best car. McLaren came calling. The partnership between Ayrton Senna and McLaren created Formula One's most successful driver-team combination of the late 1980s and early 1990s. But it also created the sport's most compelling rivalry. Alain Prost, Senna's new teammate, was known as the Professor, calculating, strategic, efficient. Senna was the exact opposite, emotional, instinctive, willing to risk everything for victory. The tension between these philosophies created pure drama. Their 1988 season was dominant. McLaren won 15 out of 16 races. Senna claimed his first world championship. But the relationship with Prost was already fracturing. Two alpha males, two different approaches to racing, one team. Something had to give. The breaking point came at Suzuka in 1989 and 1990. These weren't just racing incidents, they were collisions between two worldviews. Prost believed in preserving the car and calculating risks. Senna believed that if you weren't willing to risk everything, you weren't truly living. If you no longer go for a gap that exists, you are no longer a racing driver, Senna declared after their 1990 collision. This wasn't arrogance, this was philosophy. To Senna, racing wasn't about points or championships. It was about pushing beyond what others thought possible. His 1991 Brazilian Grand Prix victory perfectly encapsulated this spirit. Stuck in sixth gear for most of the race, his hands cramping with pain, Senna somehow found a way to win at home. As he collapsed from exhaustion on the podium, tears streaming down his face, the world witnessed pure passion made manifest. By 1994, Senna had moved to Williams, chasing his fourth championship. The car was fast, but difficult to handle, a challenge that would have deterred most drivers. Not Senna. At 34, when many drivers begin thinking about retirement, he was as committed as ever to finding the absolute limit. The 1994 season began ominously. During practice at Imola, young driver Rubens Barrichello suffered a horrific crash. The next day, Austrian Roland Ratzenberger was killed during qualifying. Formula One was experiencing its darkest weekend in years. Senna was deeply affected by Ratzenberger's death. He had been working to reform the Grand Prix Drivers Association and improve safety standards. That Saturday night, he called his girlfriend Adrienne and spoke of retiring after the season. He had achieved everything in racing, except making it safer for future generations. Sunday, May 1st, 1994, lap 7 of the San Marino Grand Prix. Senna's Williams left the track at Tamburello Corner at 190 miles per hour. The impact was instantaneous and fatal. The king of Formula One was gone. Ayrton Senna's death sent shockwaves around the world. 3 million people lined the streets of Sao Paulo for his funeral. Brazil declared 3 days of national mourning. But this wasn't just grief for a racing driver. It was mourning for a spirit that had touched something deeper in the human experience. Senna's legacy extends far beyond his statistics. The Ayrton Senna Institute has educated over 25 million young people in Brazil. His influence on safety led to revolutionary improvements that have saved countless lives. Every driver who pushes beyond their limits, who finds speed where none should exist, carries a piece of Senna's spirit. But perhaps most importantly, Senna showed us what it means to live without compromise. In a world that often settles for good enough, he demanded perfection, not just from himself, but from the sport he loved. "I want to live fully, very intensely," Senna once said. "I would never want to live partially, suffering from illness or incapacity or any inability to break through my own mental barriers." 30 years after his death, his spirit remains eternal because it represents something that we all aspire to: the courage to push beyond what we think is possible, to dance with danger in pursuit of perfection, and to never, ever settle for anything less than our absolute best. Ayrton Senna didn't just drive Formula One cars. He showed us how to drive through life itself. Full throttle, no compromises, chasing a perfection that exists just beyond our reach. Senna once said, "Nothing can separate me from the love of racing." Death, it turns out, was no exception. His spirit races on, eternal and unbroken, in every driver who refuses to settle, in every fan who believes in magic, and in every moment when the impossible becomes possible.